So, we are living in, I think it's Agatha Jones who owns the boarding house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fairly crisp winter morning as she shows 3 guests into the downstairs parlour. Obviously, given that there's a male guest, they're definitely not going upstairs. That would be quite unseemly. But she shows 3 guests into the downstairs parlour to meet Lady Irene von Watts. Irene, 3 friends here to see you. The ones, well, Lottie from upstairs, and the other 2 from before, the fancy ones.
Yes, they can be fancy. All right, I will be down. Thank you so much.
I'll go put a pot of tea for you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, there's just this gentleness there. It's just thank you. And she gives her a daisy. That's what she does, is she just hands her a daisy for...
You dear.
Yeah. And yeah, she goes down to meet everyone. Just downstairs and walks luxuriously into the parlor.
Shouldn't see little parlor. There's definitely doilies and little ornaments. It's floral patterns. It's very It's the late Victorian, or as Agatha would say, very trendy modern decoration.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Irene does come in, and it's very much like, "Hello, friends. It's been a bit."
I hope you are well.
I'm doing better now.
Well,
yes, the dentist went well. Just some minor issues. Things happen. There's definitely a look around, and it's more when she's looking at Maddie, she's definitely checking her over because of the last time they've been around. How are you, Maddie? You doing all right? This past 3 months good to you?
a little bit better, at least until yesterday. But I took a wonderful holiday and was able to soothe my mind for a moment.
That's good. And she kind of looks over at Maxwell, and there's very much like, "Hello, Mr. Porter. It's been a while. How did you..." She kind of pauses, and it's like, "That's a story for another time." And she's just being very congenial to everyone, including Lottie. There's just this smile at Lottie because they live in the same area, so she sees her more often than anyone else. But you said yesterday?
Yes. We went to a bookstore, and I am missing approximately a half an hour's worth of time.
Like you came into the bookstore and then you walked out with no recollection of what you did inside?
I recall browsing the books, looking for anything that I might find useful, paying for the books, and then I recall being outside on the curb shortly before joining Mr. Porter and Detective Shaw in the carriage. I don't recall what happened between paying and joining them, and they said it was about a half an hour of time in between.
That's certainly strange. I mean, um, I'm trying to think if there is any recollections in my occult knowledge of memory loss or memory disappearance.
Definitely feel free to make me either an occult or I don't think you have it yet, but if you do have it, a mythos roll.
I do not have mythos, but I do have occult, so and I fail.
You can't recall any specifics. It's the kind of thing that would fall under the thing that hypnotists and mediums do play around with the ideas of memory and memory loss and memory gain, but nothing real specific is coming to mind.
In my dealings with the occult, I haven't seen much of memory loss. How do you want me to try and see through you?
That's what we
Maddie?
were hoping for.
There's kind of this look that's like, it's been 3 months. I haven't really done anything like this in a while kind of look. Oh, okay, if you really need me to, I'll do it. I'll try. And she does sit down next to Maddie. And she slowly reaches out and takes Maddie's hands. And she tries to
Maddie offers very willingly.
Yep. All right. And she tries her best to focus on that specific event, on her going to the bookshop and seeing what she gets.
Okay, I'm going to say give me a power roll, please, because we still haven't actually put this down as a specific skill.
Yes, we
Probably
have
should
not.
do it at some point, but yes, that would be a power roll, please.
All right. Got a success there.
Sorry, really should keep. Okay, just a plain success. So, as you focus on this bookshop, you get first of all sort of flashes and fragments of this dingy little crowded bookshop with books piled up on the floor, stuffed shelves, occult titles all around. The windows covered with grime, the place very, very dark and cobwebbed. And a woman dressed in black widow's weeds behind the desk. And you recognize her as Letitia Blake, who you have encountered at several sort of seances and that sort of events previously. In fact, I think you spoke to her about Belfont before. And you see flashes of conversation, hear names, books, getting passed back and forth between the group. You see Maxwell and Lottie leave, and sort of Irene settling the account. And then Letitia leans forward to Maddie and goes, before you go, Miss Cartwright, was it? Cartwright. I just remembered something actually that you might be quite interested in. And, well, Maddie, what do you say? As we go back to what happened beforehand.
Oh, what did you remember?
You were... Look, I didn't want to say it before because, you know, there were other people in the shop. There's some things I don't like to put on general view as everyone's going by. But, there's a book I think you might be interested in. It was, something my father worked on.
Mm-hmm.
Wait there one moment. And she disappears into the back of the shop. Returns a few minutes later with this wrapped bundle. She sets it down on the desk and sort of peels the cloth back and tilts up towards you. Well, it's quite a familiar looking book when she opens the title page. Because printed there on the front you see Nameless Cults, a translation from the German.
Does she let me touch it? I reach to turn the page to the contents.
Push it forwards.
I'll turn it to the table of contents. Does it look like it's the same as the previous book?
Yes, it is another. Looks to be off the same sort of printing, same print run as your copy. The little chapters are the same. Ever seen something like this before?
No, I haven't. This is interesting. And I pull my finger down the list of cults, and I put it at the first one, which is the Cult of Dagon. Huh. Is this for sale?
Oh, not for sale, I'm afraid. It's the only copy I've got left, you see, and my father, he did the translation on it, kind of a family heirloom, really, I guess. And she shuffles it back towards her. You've really not seen anything like it before? I just thought from the questions you were asking and the books you were looking for. Sorry, it was too much to hope for that there's someone else out there who understands this sort of stuff and might be able to help me.
You need help with something?
I'd sound insane if I tried to explain it. It's nothing for you to concern yourself with, really. She starts rewrapping the book.
Are you sure you don't need any assistance with anything?
Look, you think I was crazy.
But you did just lose your husband. I don't think that you would be crazy. It might be grief that you're dealing with.
Oh, no, this was an issue before my husband died. In fact, the two are kind of rather closely interconnected, you see. But if you don't, it's all right. I thought you might know something can be able to help, but it's clear that you can't.
I can see what I can find elsewhere. Maybe in the part of the library that isn't often visited. I can see what I can bring up.
Why would you think my issue concerns a library?
Well, it was a book, is it not? Of something that is not widely known. My
issue less concerns libraries and more concerns shipping. Well, not exactly shipping, but people who... Have you ever heard the name Belfont?
Only in the paper.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Look, doesn't mean anything to you?
It might. I heard that there's something a little bit odd with the Belfonts. But other than that, they're a little odd, and that it's in the newspaper. Not much else.
Oh. Well, sorry to trouble you then. All this fuss about nothing.
Are you sure there isn't something I might help with?
I don't know. Are you sure there isn't something you're not telling me?
Keeper.
Yes?
I'd like to see what I might be able to do to tell if I can trust her enough.
Make me a psychology roll, I think, if you want to get some insight into what...
Psychology.
Yeah, psychology.
I fail.
You're not getting any further hints from me. You can draw your own conclusions. Look. I'm sorry, you just came into my books and here I am rattling on about dead parents and insane fish cults. I mean,
Well, it sounds like you might need someone to speak with privately, and rather than doing so in a bookshop where customers might come in unawares, I can call back in the next day or two, and we can have a cup of tea, and you can share what you wish. You seem really bothered.
it's... You know more than you're saying, I know that much, but look. If you want to continue this conversation on more honest terms, come back here. But, if you're going to continue to lie to me, then I don't see any point of carrying on this whole charade.
All right. My real name is Martha Carter. And I am
Should that mean something?
I am the niece of Sir John Wallace. Who was
Wallace's niece?
Yes. And I believe he worked with your father.
Oh, I know. Yes. I know who. I know Sir John, yes. You're his niece?
Mm-hmm.
You sound, American.
I am. He's my great uncle.
And, you're staying with him?
Mm-hmm.
He cares for you?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Thank you. That's that I can work with. But maybe not just yet. Maybe I need some time to think. You know what? For now, I think it's best. You should head home. Let's just forget we had this little conversation. Right?
Would you still like me to call back on you in a couple of days' time?
Oh, you'll come back. They always do. And she sort of weaves her hand and she stares directly into your eyes. And there's a sort of blinking sort of moment, and then you sort of stand up and make your way out the shop, having forgotten this now recalled conversation. And as you blink back to the present, you and Irene both witnessed all of that. To the rest of you, they've just been sat holding each other's hands and staring at each other for like a good 20 minutes.
Keeper, you said I recall that conversation now?
Yes, you and Irene witnessed all that just happened there.
Mm-hmm.
Irene pulls her hands away rather quickly when she realizes they're back.
I assume you're done? Did anything happen? Was it successful?
I recall what happened.
Is that good or bad?
Let's just say she knows a hell of a lot more than she knew in the bookstore. When you were there.
Yes, well, that's rather unsurprising, actually. I assume so.
And she has a copy of the book. The book that I read.
Ah.
That made me seem insane.
Yes, well, what else does she know? I mean, do we need to confront her, or?
Well, we might need to have a chat with her. She'll be expecting us. Me at the least.
Do you suppose that this is the type of business best done in the daylight, or perhaps something that should wait until the shop is about to close when she is less likely to expect guests?
What do you think, Lady Irene?
It was rather startling how quickly she made you forget.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely believe that all of us should be present. And maybe this is something that should be done right when the bookshop is closing, so that we can get her alone. But I'm also nervous that the Bellefonts know where that bookshop is.
Well, she mentioned that while she was speaking with you, Mr. Porter, and Miss Lottie, she did mention that she sends shipments to the Bellefonts, but she doesn't deal with him in person, I believe. Was that correct?
Yes, to my recollection.
I asked Leticia about the Bellefonts originally a few months ago when we were doing our initial investigations. And she did not have much to say except for that they are kind of secluded and you don't really want to get too involved with them, if I remember correctly.
Yes, well, she may be an important component in both Mr. Porter and I's own personal family struggles, so we must approach this very carefully and glean everything that we can from her. A misstep and we may all lose out on information that would be vital to us.
Yes.
There's arguments for any time. If you try to encounter her during the day, it may catch her by surprise. She wouldn't think us to be so bold as to interrupt her during working hours where she would be running the shop and others could potentially be there. but there is convenience in approaching her when she's alone towards the end of the day. It could go either way. But I do know that we had interest. Mr. Porter wanted to speak to some hospitals for some areas around town that could potentially have more medical insight to the on-land drownings.
Yes, it is true, but
So
I think perhaps a different visit may be in order. I know a Miss Merriwell, who is quite an affinity for books. Perhaps she is running the same circles as this Lutetia, and might provide some insight into her past, which could come in useful when we confront this woman.
yes, well, I'd love to know more about her past husbands as well. She is involved in the occult, and she has been caught as a liar. It's rather mysterious having 3 different husbands pass on you.
Yes, very mysterious indeed. At least 2 of which were in the same business. So I wonder at the 3rd.
Yes. Well, we have plenty to look into and research before nightfall, I believe, when we hope to approach her.
Yes, Quarte et inventus, I believe, is the right phrase here. Seek and we shall find.
Yes, indeed. Well, what should we start with?
We could always split up to go to speak with your Miss Merriweather and to go search hospital records.
Yes, very. I do think that would work. Although, who should go where would be.
Well, it seems you know Miss Merriweather, so you should probably be one to speak with her. And Detective Shaw would have reason to look into medical backgrounds, so she might want to do that. And it would be your choice as to who shall accompany you.
Well, I do believe that Miss Carter, you might be an excellent person to join me. Your connection with the London Museum may give some further pretense to our visit.
All right.
And I don't mind going with Lottie to the hospitals. I can at least help scomb through some records and help ask questions.
I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
I must say that I appreciate both of you being so willing to look into matters on my account.
Yes, of course. It'll be illuminating for all of us. I mean, I have more interest in, like I said, I think Leticia's husband's passings are quite interesting. So while looking at the medical records for drownings, I mean, that would be one of the first steps to looking into how they died. If there's anything mysterious going on around them too, so works to both ends.
The fact that one of her husbands passed from the on-land drownings is quite interesting as well.
Yes. No, I plan to connect ties. That's what I try to do best. So that's what we'll do.
And I guess we will convene in front of the bookshop later, or...
Yes, I think that works well, and that way we're coming into separate groups. That's about how we approached it earlier.
Perhaps at about a half hour to sunset.
Perfect.
I think that would work very well.
Okay. In which case, as the group splits off to follow 2 lines of investigation, who shall we begin with? We've got investigation to visit hospitals and hospital records and asking around that sort of thing. And then let's begin, I think, actually with a visit to the British Library and Maxwell's contact there, if that's all right. So you head on over to the British Library, which I cannot actually recall where they were based at this point. I will have to look that up. But I'm assuming it's some sort of smart Victorian brick building.
Seems about right.
Yeah. And hey, you've known enough about the place, Maxwell, that you can gain entry without any difficulty and get pointed in the direction of Elizabeth Merriweather's office.
I would
Very well.
of course, proceed through the door and knock at Miss Merriwell's door. Hello, Miss Elizabeth. Are you in?
Who's there? Oh, you give me an awful shock. Maxwell, is that you? And you see this slightly harried-looking woman, like glasses falling down her nose.
Yes.
Stray hair flying all over the place. Come in. I've not seen you for ages.
Yes, it's been far too long. I do hope we're not intruding at a bad time. You seem in a bit of a state.
Oh, no, I've been trying to sort the inventory. You know how it is. It comes around every year, and every year half the books are in the wrong place, and half of them are missing.
Yes.
Not missing yet. I'll just misshelved, I'm sure.
Of course. And
who's your lovely young friend?
Well, wait, this is Miss Maddie Carter, Sir John Wallace's niece.
You, I'm sure I've seen you. You work over at the British Museum?
I do.
Yes. Well, what do I owe the pleasure?
Well, I wish it were a social visit, you know. But unfortunately, we come seeking some help with a bit of information. Have you ever had the chance to frequent the Clark bookshop or perhaps the Blake bookshop?
Books, is that, dingy little occult place, a few streets from the British Museum?
Yes, I do believe that's the one. Miss Lutetia.
Yes, I've been there a couple of times, looked around. It's not occasionally has a few interesting things, and is mostly not very historically important stuff, being honest.
Yes, of course. Well, you know, the people get so fascinated by these strange occult doings. But, you see, I was quite concerned to hear that her most recent husband has met with an unfortunate end.
Oh, again?
Yes, it would seem. I don't know that you would have any information regarding her previous husbands at all, but more so, I was curious. Do you know very much about the bookshop? It seemed it was owned by several previous owners, and so I was curious if you knew who was the owner before Clark.
Oh, well, I presume. Hang on, let me see if I've written anything down about it. I try and keep track of all the bookshops, you see, you know. Who's coming, who's going. It's very important knowledge to have. Bookshops. Clark books. Let's see. Yes, Matthew Clark, he was the Clark that owned it. opened back in 1850.
Yes.
Back in the year 50. For that, it was his father's, I believe, still Clark. And I don't actually have a record of when he took it over, but I think it was some point back in the 30s.
I see.
I've got it down here as a mainly poetry and literature, and then I think it switched over in the mid-50s to being more theosophical, occultist sort of stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Do you have any record of it before the 30s?
Not in my personal notes. Quite a lot of bookshop. I mean, it might not have been a bookshop beyond then. Yeah, if it goes back further, then might be in the like a land registry somewhere, or like a general maps and records, but bookshops, they come and go, they pop up, they appear. But yeah, I became a occultist books, Clark books. Then obviously poor Matthew Clark met his end. His widow carried it on for a while. Then it became Kent Books for a bit. Same place. And then he died. He fell off a boat, apparently, according to my notes. I've noted this. He was a very nice chap. He was he used to come by here quite a lot. He was a lovely man. Yeah, from north somewhere. I think Yorkshire, maybe. Always looks a bit lost in the big city. I think he wasn't used to the big rivers. I don't know. Then yeah, he died. It was Kent Books for a bit longer, and then about 5 years ago became Blake Books.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah. Well, I do believe, Miss Carter, you had a quite lengthy conversation with Miss Lutetia. Did she happen to mention anything that might be relevant here, or?
Only that her father owned the bookshop for a while. And then he was in hospital for a while, and then she was married, and it has since changed names.
Strange. And I hate to be one to start rumors, but have you had any interaction with Miss Lutetia? Do you know anything of her? I frankly don't know her well enough.
Oh, well, he's one of these, occultist types, always, seances and that sort of nonsense.
Yes.
But, no, there was a researcher here, a couple of years ago who was very interested in, it was, some sort of Egyptian cult or something. Anyway, I pointed him towards Letitia. He was looking around her bookshop for stuff a lot. So he had a lot of good to say about her. He seemed to think she was, he called her a very charming and intelligent woman. And then, well, he, fortunately fell in front of a hansom cab once, leaving the bookshop. Oops. So, yeah, that kind of put an end to that. And I've not really had any close dealings with the, Mrs. Blake Clark whatever she is these days, since then.
I see. Well, I do believe you've been very helpful to me. Although, if there is anything you two happen to think of in regards to that particular shop, I would.
Yeah. Sorry, I just remember. She does. Is that Letitia? Like, every time we have like a open days of the stuff at the library, yeah. She always used to visit those. If that helps, I don't know if that helps. I mean, she's a bookshop owner visiting
Does she not attend them anymore?
I've not been to the last couple, so I'm not sure. As I said, I've not really seen much of her since poor Mr. Watts got hit by the carriage.
I am so sorry to bother you with this question, but when you have the open library days, does anyone of note attend as well?
Oh, it's mostly just, curious people, nosy people. Most people of note can gain access to the library at, other points if you're, connected in academia or connected with donors and that sort of thing. They usually don't have trouble gaining access. It's more the, ordinary folk coming and getting a tour.
Incidentally, do you know who does manage the open days and might have a clear picture of whether or not she's attended recently?
Oh, I think it's Mabel was doing the I can check if she's attended though. There's a guest book.
Oh yes. I think that would be quite helpful.
One sec.
I'd like to
one
see
sec. Well, it's not really in any order though. And she hauls out this big, visitor sign-in book and slides it across to you.
Ooh, yes. Now this kind of tome takes me back. But I suppose I would open the book and ask Miss Carter if she'd be so kind as to help by searching the opposite page. That way we might complete 2 pages within a short time.
I would gladly assist you, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, my dear. I believe I'll be looking out for Miss Letitia in any form she may come in, and as well as the Alphonse. There we are. Sorry, it seemed I misplaced the name.
Is this the tome only for the open days? Do you have a sign-in registry for individuals who come in at other times?
Oh, we have a sign-in for visiting researchers and that sort of thing.
If it's at all possible that we might see that after we finish this one?
Yes, I suppose. I don't see why not. I mean, it's just a visitor book.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry to take up so much of your day, dear. Truly, we must get together for tea again. It's been far too long. We used to have a regular standing appointment, as I recall.
Tuesday mornings.
Yes.
Should pick that up again. Anyway, you take a look over that. I will go back to cross-checking inventories, which is just as much fun.
Yes, of course. Please don't let us keep you.
Thank you.
Do you
Yes.
prefer the guest book, Miss Carter, or do you prefer the researchers?
I can look through the guest book
Very well.
if that is fine with you, unless you
yeah.
prefer.
Oh, no. I have no preference. I just didn't want to assume.
Okay. So as the two of you start pouring through these ledgers and records, for how long is this going to take you? I'm going to say either a library use or an accounting roll if you've got accounting, because if you want to use accounting. It's a skill that's there. One day someone will use it for something. I've yet to see it used.
I am going to use library.
Or just I guess a language owned for speed reading.
I got an extreme success.
Okay, it's not. Well, what are you looking for in yours? You got the researchers one.
I am looking for Letitia Clark and her most recent surname, Blake, to see if, or her husband, for either of them, because she might be in the presence of her husband for some of those. And then I will also be looking for any of the Belfonts.
Okay. And we'll get back to what the two of you do or don't find during your research time in just a moment. Meanwhile, Lottie and Lady Irene. What is it you're attempting here to investigate, find out, and where would you head?
Whatever. Let's see. Based on the information that was given me by Inspector, would I know what hospitals most of these people were medically written off as pneumonia at? Or do I know, like, where they would have...
Yeah, you'd have the names of the hospitals in question. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we just go to the closest one.
Okay. So you head on over to, I think it's probably would have existed at the time, which would be the University College Hospital.
Peace.
I'll check historical records later.
But yes, I would go ahead and enter in. I'd have like some kind of identification. Do we have badges at the time? I'd assume I'd have a badge or something.
I mean, you possibly. Sure. I mean, you are not officially like part of Metropolitan Police or anything, so you probably have like your calling cards are very big. So
great.
It's a card and sense of authority.
Great. So I would go ahead and walk in like I own the place. And just kind of show card and whoever I first find, receptionist or something, and
like a clerk leaning over his books at the desk.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
Oh, it's okay. Hello, my name is Detective Lottie Shaw. I'm here on a call for research to reinvestigate a couple of cases that we believe were deemed inaccurate in terms of reason for death. I was hoping to be able to find access to those records, specifically the autopsy reports.
Autopsies and stuff, you'd have to talk to Dr. Peterson. He's in charge of the morgue here.
Okay. Could you point me that way?
Oh, yes. Down the corridor, turn left, down the stairs, and keep going down until you reach the bottom.
Great.
He's in the basement.
Stairs, bottom. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. And then I will be accompanied by my friend Lady Irene. She's also here on business.
Oh, yeah. So I just need to get you to sign the visitor book.
Perfect. I will sign.
All right.
Well, are you sure you want to go down there, ladies? I mean, it's not really a matter for delicate feminine constitution, all that.
I had to shoot someone in self-defense last week. I think I'm okay.
I assure you, Detective Lottie here has an iron will.
Well, have a lovely trip, ladies.
There's a confusion on Irene's face at lovely as she She just walks beside Lottie, and it's like, feels like old times.
Yes, it wasn't the most tactful way to say things, was it? And I'm obviously amused at the fact that I scared the clerk like that.
It's one of those things that Irene is keeping her face very straightforward until they get out
Yes,
of
and
the
then
side
there's
of those
laughter
person. Then there's, yeah. She's giggling.
Ready. We would head down to the morgue then.
Okay, it takes you down sort of these the sort of classic tiled sort of Victorian tiling, sort of got probably like a dark greenish shade going on, and the tiled walls. As you head down into this basement, and it's kind of cold, damp air with a sense of formaldehyde, rubbing alcohol, and an underlying hint of blood and a little bit of decay thrown in there as well. As you head down, you can see a kind of area with sort of desks and some shelving and some closed doors leading off into the autopsy rooms. And a sort of pale, thin-looking man, probably in his 30s, who is leant over a microscope currently, and underneath this microscope you can see what appears to be a severed human hand, just like propped up underneath this microscope.
Fascinating.
You do not creep up on someone using a microscope. Not okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Who
And
let
she
you in here?
The fine young clerk who thought we shouldn't be here.
He's an idiot.
Yes, well, I am on official detective duty, so not as much of an idiot as you may think.
Oh, well, you're on a case? Is it that he lifts up the hand and sort of holds it out? Is it this one? I mean, I still don't know whose hand it is. I'm working on it.
No. It's actually a rather old case at this point. Well, some of them old, some of them new. We have reason to believe that there may be some reason to further look into the mysterious on-land drownings.
Oh, the new pneumonia that's been.
Yes, that's what people are referring it to. I was just hoping to look into that.
We put it down as rapid onset pneumonia. I need to work on apologies for it. I haven't. I've only got one of the bodies in here at the moment. If you want, I mean, you probably. It might be contagious. Probably shouldn't go and poke it. That would be probably a bad idea.
I am interested in poking it, even if that is a bad idea. But, well, for the most part, I was just hoping to look at the medical record to see if they had any history of. I mean, were you made aware of anything that they were doing? Did the autopsies reveal? Were you the one to do the autopsies personally, or was it someone else?
No, I did a fair few of the autopsies myself. The ones that came here, that is. Some of them went down to a hospital in the Docklands. I was mostly trying to. Once I've done the first couple or two, you recognise the signs, and then what's the point of yet another autopsy? I've already got my slab kind of quite full, to be honest.
Yes.
But,
well, what are those signs that you came to recognize?
Well, it's more like the lack of signs. You'd say, other than the fact that their lungs are completely full of water. They seem completely healthy. The only other notes is the salinity of the fluid.
Yes. How saline? Is it connected to any specific body of water?
Salt. salty as seawater in layman's terms, really.
Or
Yeah.
could it be traced to any one specific sea, though? Were there any kind of tests done on if there was any microbial culture or anything like
Any
that
what?
that could? Well,
I mean,
certain bodies of water have certain substances in them. You wouldn't expect the water of the Atlantic to look the same as the water of
Oh,
the Baltic Sea. I mean, there are ways of finding where this water could be linked to, and were any of those
Anyway.
tests done?
I mean, I would say, I don't look at a whole lot of water. In terms of the, it's more like beings in there. Like, you know a lot about this sort of things. But do you know endospores and that sort of thing? Formulates. I won't bore you with all that then. But essentially, the Thames, I would say, at a rough shot, it looks like the water came from the Thames. I mean, obviously it didn't. It came from their lungs.
So there was no sign of forceful swallowing or intubation of any kind to get the water in. It just simply was there.
No evidence at all. And all the witnesses who saw this happen. I mean, people
And
just.
What exactly do you think it is?
Some sort of strange lung infection, perhaps acquired due to the air. If perhaps something that's in the water gets into the mist that then was filling their lungs and accumulating in the lungs.
In which case everyone should be experiencing this, would they not?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm no epidemiologist, really. Don't know if that even exists yet, really, as a thing. But I'm just a.
Yes. Well, still insightful. If you don't mind, I would love to prod at that body. I know you think it might be contagious, but obviously if it's just water accumulation, as long as I perhaps put a mask on or something like that.
Obviously it could be. Yes, feel free to take a look if you've got some solution to this. I was actually compiling the records on it to send over to Dr. Snow, who is the Royal College. He's done a bit of work on sort of things.
Interesting. All right, well, Lady Irene, I will go poke and prod at the body.
No.
Would you perhaps like to
I know
see
he's
if
dead.
this...
Alas, ask for a different doctor's dead.
Would you perhaps like to question this man on his knowledge of the occult? If he's trying to cover this up?
There's a look on Irene's face at the idea of questioning this man. If you think that's best, Lottie.
Well, I mean, if you want to take up the scalpel instead, you'd be more than welcome to.
No, I'll talk to Dr. Peterson. It's fine.
Thank you. He seems well-meaning, but you never know. If someone writes something off as pneumonia and it's not, then maybe they have an idea of what it actually is. As well as any information on whether he knew where they were, or who they were associated with before they died. That would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I will go scrub myself off.
Okay.
To some degree.
Okay, so you're going to go and take some slices out of a corpse?
My pleasure. Yep.
Okay, so as you step through into directly to the correct slab, where there is, in fact, the tag at the bottom indicates that this is the body of a Henry Blake, him being the last person to have died in these circumstances. Yeah, so what are you trying to determine from this body here?
I'd like to just confirm that the report is accurate, that there doesn't seem to be any sign of foul play, intubation, forced feeding, forced swallowing, basically. And then ideally I'd cut into his lungs and take a look and possibly take a sample. I don't have a ton of medical knowledge. I have like a passing forensic knowledge, just as per being a detective. I need to be able to pick up on that. But in terms of actual scalpel work, I'm relying on books. So we'll see how I do.
Okay. Yes, I was trying to think of what the appropriate skill role was.
I'd assume there'd be a suture already where they had originally cut. So there may be just a level of follow the lines.
I'm going to say, make me a
Yeah.
medicine roll with a bonus die, and this will determine.
Great. How do I add a bonus die, or do I just?
So roll the purple one.
Oh yes. Okay.
Roll 20.
Perfect. My medicine is garbage. So, all right.
So, how we sort of cut from like Lottie sort of following these like sutras down the middle. Do Lottie sort of with like up to her elbow, like in like bits of like corpse, like you got a bit of lung in one hand. There's definitely some liquid in here. I'm gonna say make me a spot hidden and also a sanity roll, because you've seen dead bodies. You just don't usually
actually cut into them.
Actually cut into them. So I think it's
sanity. Oh, thank goodness.
You keep.
I butchered the shit out of it. I just wasn't even processing. I was just, is this fine?
Yeah. You've made a bit of a mess of it, but as you're sort of holding this chunk of lung in your hand, you notice something. Or separate. Like you've clearly like taken this tissue apart far more than the previous autopsy, but you can see that within the lung tissue, this it looks to be a tiny crab.
I would like to extract that,
like,
please.
About this big. Yeah, you can extract it. And as you pull it out,
is it alive?
Yes, its little claws twitch, and it starts. Okay. It makes a little half-hearted scamper.
Great. I will put it in some kind of container. And then poorly put this man back together.
Okay. And as all this is going on, Irene, you're outside with the with Dr. Peterson, who is currently pressing a bit of ice to his bruised eye.
Lady Irene is trying to be gentle with this individual. She is asking about his work, and she is trying to be all in all charming, maybe a little flirtatious. She's trying to get him to open up to where, you know, he might tell her something that he wouldn't normally tell someone. She's acting curious. That's really what it is. Actively curious in what he's doing and what he knows about these incidences, if he knows that sort of thing.
Give me a charm roll, please. I feel this sounds like a charm to me.
I was kind of leading it that way. That's what I was hoping for. Oof. Not good. Hey, 69 though. Huh?
You rolled a 69 and his Victorian sensibilities are
just
insulted, and you you went too far.
Yes.
Well, but he is quite happy still. Whilst not really being won over by your charm, seemingly. He doesn't seem that impressed. He is quite happy to talk about his work, and if you get him onto the topics of dead bodies, he seems very interested. Of like telling you about interesting dead bodies he's found. Like he'll show you the severed hand he's got. You happily talk about all sorts of diseases and that sort of thing. In terms of his mysterious pneumonia patients, he was say, yeah, most of them. Well, up until I thought we had it pinned down to like a couple of perhaps an outbreak down at the docks. And then there's a few older cases going back a few years ago that I weren't sure if they were related or not. Dotted here and there. But then what was this bookshop owner and a couple of bankers and an academic, Egyptologist sort of fellow who... the connection was lost then. When it was just, people working down out in the East End, I thought I was onto something, but then, we got proper fancy types up in Bloomsbury and whatnot, and it doesn't seem to make sense anymore.
That certainly is very curious. Do you happen to know any of these individuals are next of kin, or?
Yeah, we've had a couple of next of kin down. We had the gentleman that is on the slab over in there. His widow came down to take a look.
Did she seem surprised? You said there were witnesses to these people just suddenly?
She claimed to have seen him just suddenly collapse, yes. She said one of them once down in the East End, he was apparently drinking at the Red Lion and then just hit the floor. That was about 2 months back.
Wow.
There was, there's some older cases stretching back years. Most of the older ones, the only connection I could really find is they seem to be a lot of people involved in the antiquities, which made me think maybe if it wasn't infection, it was something that come in from overseas, perhaps. Something brought in on stuff they'd picked up. But, yes, that last widow, she didn't seem apart from trying to, I think, maybe flirt with me, which was quite disconcerting. Sorry, Mum, sorry, I spent too much time down here.
The scandal. Just kind of the gentle, over-the-face kind of, my.
Well, I wouldn't, but she was clearly the grief talking, but...
distraught.
Yes.
I understand completely. So, do you do anything in sort of the occult nature? Some of these people seem to be...
No, I'm no occultist. I am a man of science. Science, that is the answer. That's where we will find all the solutions to medicine and all the understanding of the human body. And did you know that our nerves, they conduct electricity?
That's new to me. Yeah, there's this... She's kind of trying to keep him fascinated, and eventually there's a point where it's just going to go too far over her head, and she's going to go find Lottie, who's probably elbows deep in butchering this.
Yes. That's what you walk away as he's busy explaining, like, the intricacies of how electricity relates to the human body, and at great length. He doesn't seem to even notice that you've walked away.
Yeah, it's one of those smile, step. Kind of, Lottie, what are you
Found a crab. Yeah. I'm like sewing him back up. Never really took any classes on this. It's not exactly my area of expertise, but I found a crab. And you can tell she's kind of like staying light to like prevent her from going crazy about the whole situation.
I am going to ask for a sanity roll from Lady Irene as well, actually,
okay.
seeing this site.
Yeah.
It's quite disconcerting. How but not that disconcerting.
She's kind of looking at the body, looking at Lottie, and it's very much that shock. It's like, she's kind of struggling first. Do you want me to touch his hand and see if I see anything off of him? I don't really want to, but
I'm not going to ask that of you. If you so choose to provide it, then that's fine, but that is not something I would ask of you, Lady Irene. Not to a dead person. Up to you. And I'll just continue suturing away.
She is going to slowly walk up to the body and slowly grab the hand and she's going to try and use her sight on this.
Okay. Give me a power roll, please. Oh, I need to stop changing windows. And yes, so you're trying to determine, get a flashback to his death? Is that what you're attempting here?
Yeah, trying to figure out the cause. What might he have last seen before?
You only get a couple of flashes. You see Letitia's face. You hear like snatches of an argument, and then flashes of it looks like a bar, like a pub, a few drinks, and stumbling homewards towards the bookshop. And then a hand seizes your wrist, and as you turn, you see a pale-haired young woman. And there's no sort of recognition from Mr. Blake, but Irene, you do recognize her as Augusta Belfont. She goes, it's just a briefest grip as she grasps your arm, and you pull yourself away and hurry on into the bookshop. And even as you take those last few steps, you can feel the water welling up inside your lungs. So you're coughing and spluttering as you stumble over the doorstep. And I require another sanity roll here as you
Makes sense.
experience what he experienced. You feel the water filling up your lungs. You will still lose 1 point of sanity here.
Makes sense.
But you're able to hold yourself together impressively well as the brief flash of a vision ends, and you're just there touching the mutilated remains of Henry Blake's corpse.
It's definitely one of those things where she lets go and she's pedaling back and she's coughing. It's very... Oh. Lottie, the next time I suggest touching a corpse, to slap me.
Okay, I will do that. I didn't slap you. I did say you didn't have to if you didn't want to, but learning experiences for both of us today. I'll have finished closing him up. Yes, well, what did you find?
It was Agatha.
Oh.
Agatha Belfont.
Augusta.
Oh, sorry. Augusta.
Like Christy.
It was Agatha all along.
Not our boarding house. Oh no, what a twist. Augusta.
Augusta was the one who did it? Or who was last seen? Interesting.
We had already had that incident with the mudlark with the fish necklace. And you know
Yes.
how she said that this person tried to make her lungs fill with salt water?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, none of this is surprising, unfortunately. But why does it keep happening to Letitia's husbands, but Letitia is fine? Does Letitia want this to happen to her husbands? I mean, he didn't seem all that shaken up about it.
There was an argument. I've only got bits and pieces, but he had an argument with Letitia. And then went out to have some drinks.
Augusta took care of him. Huh. Well, interesting. Do you recognize this type of crab? She'll hold up the bottle with the crab in it.
There's confusion? Like,
do we have
what?
Crabs in the Thames? I don't think we do. I feel like I'd know if we had crabs in the Thames.
With Lady Irene,
There
no?
are crabs in the Thames.
There are.
If they can survive down there in the mud and the filth there.
That's stunning.
There are crabs in the Thames.
I didn't know that. Crabs in the Thames. Mitten crabs.
They're invasive crabs in the Thames.
Yeah, that's not very good.
I don't think they were around at this point, but there are like not edible crabs particularly. Like I think there's more like little rubbish mud crabs.
Bottom feeder crabs, yeah.
Cool.
He knows there's a couple of, she's obviously trying to turn the conversation away from what she saw, and it's Dr. Peterson noticed that mainly the people that this pneumonia is having effects on is antiquities dealers. There were some bankers. And she's looking at the corpse like she's just kind of staring at it, and then eventually she's like, I need to go.
Yes, well, I believe we have some business to do with the Belfonts, as we seem to continue to have to do. We need Sir John's assistance on this, I think. I think we confront... he's involved in this in some way with the Belfonts, and well, I think we may need to uproot them. They've caused quite a bit of death, it seems. Nearly ours.
How? That's my question. How, Lottie?
Well, perhaps we need to fight fire with fire.
Well, on that note, I think as prepared to potentially make some plans, and as we will get back to Maxwell and Maddie in just a moment, I think it's a good point just to take a 10-minute break. And then we'll see you in 10 minutes' time and fight fire with fire. Or possibly in this case, water with water.
Colt with Colt. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt the discussion on gas lamps. We like to keep it very Cthulhu by gaslight even during break. But yes, so when we left off, Lottie was picking out crabs out of dead lungs, and Irene was attempting to flirt with the less than impressed Dr. Peterson. But meanwhile, Maxwell and Maddie are over at the British Library poring over guest books. Maddie, you are quite the speed reader, and you've quickly scanned over the researcher's entry ledger. You recognise a fair few names of people you know from the museum. So most of your colleagues in the museum have been here at least once or twice to check out some texts. You recognise your uncle's name, so John Wallace is on there a couple of times of having visited.
Does it have the list of books that they checked out while they were there?
No, this is just
the
they
guest
were
book.
there and they were using the reading room. In this book, there's no mention of any Bellefonts or Letitia Blake. Trying to think of anyone else but given your strong results, as you finish up your book, you look over Maxwell still slowly making his way down the page, and you see on the other side of the page that he's not quite got to yet, that month's Letitia Blake.
Here, Mr. Porter, let me take over this book. And I will pull it away from him, and I will mark with my finger Letitia Blake. I've had a notepad next to me, and I was taking notes of names and dates that they were there. So I'll take a note of a name and date for Letitia Blake. And I'll keep going.
And you see, every time there is an open day, she comes. She signs in early in the morning, she signs out at the end of the day. Seems to spend, and this is about probably every other week that she spends an entire day.
Okay. Was there any mention of any of the Bellefonts being there?
There is actually, you do pick up the name Charles Belfont, which is the son, Augusta's twin brother. Having visited a couple of times. As for Augusta herself or William Belfont, their names are not on the list.
All right. I will mark Charles Belfont and the date and times that he was there. And I'll finish going through that book. Mr. Porter, I have these. Was there anything else that you wanted to take a look through before we left?
Oh, thank you, dear. I think you are much better suited for these practical applications. Let's see. I had wondered if perhaps stopping by the council might be advisable at some point. Check into the business records, perhaps. But here in these books, I suppose you've checked for the Belfonts, and you've checked for Sir Wallace and his acquaintances. You don't. I don't believe there's anything else.
Perhaps newspapers.
Yes, they might keep newspaper records here. That is a wonderful idea.
Especially in regards to the type of death that you've been looking into.
Yes, Unfortunately, I do believe the newspaper records are somewhat scarce about this type of thing, but it never hurts to check.
Mhm.
And perhaps there is some articles in relation to the bookshop. Given that we've already had one man pass away in front of it, I wonder if there are any more.
Oh, it's possible. Um, let's see if they do have, at least for the last few years, on regards to that.
That seems reasonable. No need to delve into ancient past. Shame, really.
All right, I will go in search of the newspaper files.
Okay. Yeah, they have extensive newspaper files. What are you looking for? Because to go into this is sort of years and years of newspaper records for daily newspapers.
Any articles that may be about drowning on land? Any articles regarding Mr. Clark going to the hospital and the reason it might be?
Mr. Clark, the first husband?
Wasn't that her father?
Her father was Mr. Cresswell.
Oh, well then yes, it would be Mr. Cresswell. And anything about her husbands, all three of them.
Okay, and Maxwell, are you assisting her with this, or are you carrying out your own sort of investigations?
Yes, I do believe I'd be assisting her. I'd let her take the lead, though. I do believe she's a bit better at this than I am.
Okay, in which case I will ask for a library use roll with the bonus die, so that's the purple one on the Roll20 sheet.
There we go.
And
It looks like I have successes all around.
that is a hard success. Unless you read the line that's plus one.
Wonderful.
And so, as Maxwell had found previously when he was investigating the drownings on land, there are scant cases that make the newspapers as actual suspicious deaths. There's the brief mention of Henry Blake having died recently. There is also, from a few years back, the sad case of the Porter family.
Mm-hmm.
A mother and child. Which
All right.
you would recognise as, from the mention, is matching it with what Maxwell has told you previously.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything about the bookshop or
As
Letitia's father?
Yes. The bookshop doesn't seem to have really made the news. It gets a passing mention in an article about the unfortunate, untimely demise of a young researcher called Malcolm Watts, who was hit by a hansom carriage outside of Blake's books. But other than that, the bookshop seems to have mostly passed by without much print attention.
Mhm.
As for Martin Cresswell,
Yes.
there is a little more sort of print and ink on him. You see that he was a historian. He was a researcher who specialized in medieval history. He was a lecturer at the University of London, but was fired for an unspecified incident. Just noted here all in his obituary. He's been dead for several years. It mentions that he was a respected lecturer. He was sadly lost his job after the death of his wife, and was unfortunately committed to the Bethlehem Royal Hospital, where he passed away some years later. He is succeeded by one daughter.
All right.
The kind of only other sort of, there's a few other mentions of like talks and lectures given by him back when he was alive, sort of back in, we're talking 1830s, 1840s, so quite a while ago. There is one where he's giving a joint talk alongside a John Wallace. They're giving a joint talk together on cult practices of Central Europe.
Okay, and I'm taking notes of all of this as I'm reading through and finding these things. Mr. Porter, we might have to take a day to visit the University of London soon.
Oh, yes, it would be quite lovely.
Mr. Martin Cresswell, Letitia's father,
Yes.
used to work there and lecture there.
Oh, yes, perhaps we can speak to some of his colleagues, or perhaps even some students that may have attended his speaks.
Mm-hmm. That might be a little bit more fruitful. But we can save that for another day. Do you know what time it is? I'm assuming there's no window to the outside right now.
No, you're in this dingy little library office. The clock on the wall suggests that it is getting into the afternoon by now. You've been here some time.
Hmm.
Thank goodness, we've missed tea, it seems.
We have, and we should probably have something before we meet at the bookshop.
Yes, I do think that would be a good idea. Just a small cafe, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps we could invite Miss Merriwell, if she's not overly busy with the sorting.
She would probably enjoy that. Give her some fresh air.
Yes, Miss Merriwell?
What's... Oh, God. What? Yes? Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. We were going to have a bit of a late lunch. Perhaps you'd like to join us.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. I've almost matched up all the misplaced books. I've got just a couple I'm a little concerned about the fact that they seem to have disappeared. I'm sure someone's just taken them out without writing down that they've ever taken them out, and it will be fine.
What books were they? Perhaps we can arrange for some replacements if needed.
Well, yes, if you... there's Das Buch von den Unsprechlichen Kulten. It's in German. We've only had the one copy.
Okay.
No one's written it down as having taken it out. It's just quite alarming.
I give a side eye at Mr. Porter.
I returned the look.
Was that the only book that is missing, or were there a few others?
Another one is Cults the Ghouls. Which again, it's these are books that are in the restricted access.
Mm-hmm.
Like, any research taking these out should really have written it down. Oh.
Yes, it is quite distressing. I hope we don't have a repeat of prior incidents. It's
Oh.
terrible what they tried to pin on you.
If you would like, if for whatever reason you cannot locate those books within the next fortnight or so, send a list of them to me at the museum, and I will see if we can find a way to replace them for you.
Yes, if you have, I mean, I don't know if you've got a copy, if they are. Yes, but if you do, that would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
Typing the very long German name.
Actually, if you would like, I can take a list of it now, and perhaps I will speak with my uncle about seeing if we can donate you new copies as needed.
I mean, if you happen to have a copy of obscure 16th, early 18th century, based on the description here, books of French necromancy?
Well, if we don't have a copy of it, then we could probably commission a copy to be made.
Yes. Huh. Well, yes, that would be excellent. And she passes over the piece of paper with the name. I've popped them in chat. Excuse any spelling mistakes in unausprechlichen.
I will write down the names of, or I will write down the titles and authors that was on the page, and I'll hand it back the sheet she gives me, and we'll look into it. Maybe, hopefully they appear soon, but if they do not reappear, then maybe we will just drop me a note, and I will see if we can help.
Yes, definitely will.
Let's head for a late luncheon.
Oh yeah, a spot of tea, excellent. And as the three of you head out for some tea and scones, and cucumber sandwiches maybe. Actually, no, it's not summer. It'll be most out of season. Lottie and Irene, I think last we left, you were covered in bits of lung. Just sort of finished off your own autopsy here as you head out of the room. Dr. Peterson kind of looks at you with some alarm on his face. Yes, you've got a bit of, here, he leans forward and just kind of picks a bit of lung off your dress. Bit of Mr. Blake on you there. Did you find anything? I can't hear you. I think someone has reached through the distance of time and muted you.
Yes, hello. I did find something rather interesting. Well, I suppose I'd rather just show it to you, and I will show the crab in the jar. Do you remember seeing this in your autopsy?
In the autopsy? No. You found that in him?
In the lung?
In the lung? In the lung?
Yes, indeed. It was a bit embedded into the wall, so I understand why you didn't catch it, especially since crabs wouldn't necessarily be something you're looking for inside someone's lung.
No, that doesn't make... No. If that was in his lung, that means that wasn't just fluid like seawater or Thames water. It actually... No. It must have crawled in there afterwards. Maybe there's a leak. Maybe we've got crabs coming through the fabric of the building. They do that, they're sneaky little buggers. They get in all the places you don't expect. Yes.
I guess you would need to hire someone to thoroughly check the building for crabs, then.
Yeah, yes, yes, that's what it. We'll get the hospital checked. All of it, from top to bottom. There's no way that was that was definitely couldn't have been in his lung. Crap, people do not get.
Well, whenever you do have the hospital checked and you find nothing, be sure to stop by, and I'll hand him my card.
No. He takes the card, but his hand's trembling a little. He looks. Something's in the nerve. He seems quite disconcerted by that whole exchange. And he's kind of sort of ushering you out of his, basement.
It's nice talking to you, Dr. Peterson. Have a good evening.
Please, if you have any other autopsy needs, try Whitechapel Hospital. Try St. Bart's.
Slams the door right there.
He shuts the door, and the shaking of just Dr. Victor Peterson as he locks you out of his basement.
Understandably so. Yes, well, it's about that time, I suppose, right?
I believe we're getting close, yes. Let's hurry then to potentially this woman who's connected to the Belfonts that might get us drowned as well.
Yes, I do think we should hurry. Then we'll head off.
Okay, so are you heading to Blake's books?
I think so. I think we've got what we need for the most part.
Okay, so after some lovely tea with the librarian, did Maxwell and Maddie have anything else they wish to follow upon before convening with the others?
To the best of my knowledge, we've completed what we set out to. Is that right, Miss Carter?
I believe so, though we may want to, not today, because we do not quite have enough time, but we may want to visit the City Hall and see on what we can find on the businesses and histories.
I do agree. I think it would be a great idea to investigate a bit further. Perhaps the detective might be able to do so quietly, more so than ourselves, however.
And this list of books is quite curious. They all seem to be related to the matter we are looking into to some degree.
Yeah. I do wonder if our dear Letitia's frequent visits might have anything to do with it.
Well, if not Letitia's, then definitely Charles's.
Oh, yes.
He was there a few days, and I I show him my list of people who were there and what day they were there. And Charles Belfont was only there a few times for the open visits.
Interesting. And that is quite peculiar. You would think family of that standing would not need to use the open days of the library, but...
Unless they don't want it known.
Yes.
Although it's also possible or probable that it was my uncle.
I suppose we will have to do some checking, won't we? I don't suppose it's the type of thing he would come forward and admit to, is it?
Perhaps not, but he might make it, he might be willing to do a donation to provide the books and or translations.
Yes.
They seem to be in German.
I know that, if either of you wants to make me either an intelligence or an education check related to those titles.
I can, definitely. Hard success.
Because although you don't, I think, specifically speak German, I enough of that title. You probably understand enough of that title. Recalling that you have a book entitled Nameless Cults, a translation from the German.
Mm-hmm.
That this book of Unsprechling and Culten may in fact be the from the German part of Unnameless Cults.
Wonderful. Well, if this one is what I think it is, then maybe it is a good idea that it not be replaced in the library.
Oh, yes, I do suppose some information could be dangerous. If it's the tome that I'm thinking, it will certainly split ahead. Oof.
Or more than one.
Yes, I suppose that is true. Hopefully not mine again.
I do so apologize for that.
No need to apologize, dear. If one is not in the right state of mind, I could hardly hold it against you. But we mustn't keep the detective and Lady Irene waiting. I'm sure they'll have some fascinating information of their own.
Mm-hmm. And we will head over to where we agreed we would meet.
Okay, so just round the corner from Blake's Books, our 4 investigators reconvene.
Lady Irene, detective, how has the day treated you?
Quite interestingly. Some discoveries for sure. I confirmed that the autopsy reports were accurate, and that it is certainly not pneumonia, but that there was a sudden filling of lungs in a way that seems magical or of the occult, especially considering there was a crab in the lung of the deceased.
Show him the crab, Lottie.
Excuse me, a crab?
Yes, indeed. Rather unreasonable, don't you think? For a crab to be in a lung?
Some say.
Yes. Well, it is impossible, which is why it's magic.
No. There must be some kind of explanation to this. But perhaps I'm at a loss.
Yes, well, that's why magic is the explanation. I know that's not very comforting. I understand you lost your loved ones in this way, and to hear that it's something as preposterous as magic might be the case is very upsetting, but
How will we bring
it
them
is
to
impossible.
justice?
Well, we know who did it. At least in Mr. Blake's case. Lady Irene can speak more on that.
Augusta Belfont.
What could they possibly have wanted from me? From them? From Eliza?
You deal in antiquities. Everyone who's died has dealt in antiquities. Perhaps she couldn't reach you, so she reached your family.
They could have asked. I've never.
I don't think they're reasonable asking people. I know this is
it's a punishment of sort.
A punishment?
I do not know much, but some people would, in fact, harm those that you are close with to punish a person more.
You're valuable to keep alive, but you took a misstep. Could be an assumption, but this is very troubling information, Mr. Porter, and I do want to speak with you more, but
Yes. For
everything
now.
in this situation is pressing.
Yes. Please, Maddie, if you would. I'm besides myself at the moment. I think you would do much better to explain than I would.
Take your time, Mr. Porter. Process it, and we'll talk more. But at hand, what did you both discover this far?
Well, actually, quite a bit. And I will go through the list of everything that we found. We found visits by several people on the researchers list. My uncle has definitely visited. On the visitor days, every day that they've been open, she has been present at the library. But there are a few days wherein Charles was present as well. And I'll show her the list of names and dates that they were there. And it seems that the library is missing some books on the cultic. Or on the occult. Sorry, misspoke. And at least one of them might be in the original German, the book that I have in my possession. So someone has taken it and it has not been replaced. And then this one, I point at the one that's in French and read out the title in French because I have the language French.
Yes, you would understand that it's Cults of Ghouls, essentially, is the title.
Mm-hmm. And this one is about necromancy. It's also missing, and they were in the restricted section of the library. So that is something that we must be aware of. And we do think that you might have more success at finding some information at City Hall concerning the businesses. There was a death that happened here in front of the bookstore by a Malcolm Watts, wherein he was met by a carriage which trampled him, essentially, shortly after stepping out of the door.
Oh, I also saw Mr. Blake have an argument with his wife before he died. So there might be Leticia might be connected to the Belfonts in some particular way.
Or she might be at odds with the Belfonts.
It's very possible.
Yes, punishment, perhaps.
Yes, it depends on how beat up she was about the death of her husband's, which, to my recollection, not very much.
No,
It's
she
interesting.
didn't seem to take it in stride.
Some
As
people
well.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're here to find out more about, I suppose. Are we ready to enter?
Shall I go first?
You're the lady of the hour. Or of the
You were going to
missing
say something,
memories.
Mr. Porter?
Oh, no, nothing of importance. Let me get the door for you, dear.
Ding, ding, ding. The little bell above the door rings as you step into the dingy interior of Blake's books. And is it just Maddie going in, or are you all entering in?
I know Irene's going.
Yeah, I think we all will. May as well.
Okay.
I'll wait till the last and close the door behind me.
So as the four of you step into the dingy, dusty interior of the bookshop. Not much light filtering in from outside, and just a single candle burning in like a a glass, forgotten the words, thing you put in to stop candles escaping. One of those. On the desk.
Lantern?
And that's the word, lantern, thank you. Burning on the desk. As you enter, you hear movement in the back of the shop. A rustle of skirts. We're closed for the day.
Hello, Mrs. Blake. It is I.
Oh, well, in which case we are definitely open still. Wait there, I'll be with you in just a moment. Let me just grab another candle, it's a little dim. And there's a kind of more shuffling and movement around at the back of the shop. And then Mrs. Blake emerges holding another lantern. This one, slightly smoky candle. She's on a hook, suitably away from any flammable books that it isn't instantly a fire risk.
Mhm.
And she looks over the four of you and goes, "Well, this is a surprise. I was expecting you back, Martha."
These are my associates.
I see. Makes a lot more sense now.
I apologize for the deception yesterday.
Oh, so you remember?
It took some time to remember.
Interesting. I knew you'd come back either way. People tend to. You steal their memory and it's that little niggle of something missing that makes them chase it down.
Oh, I was fully willing to come without the memory. But I was talked into some sense and waited a little and it came back.
Knew you'd come back. Well.
So
here we all are.
Shall I make the introductions?
Lady Irene, I know. Detective Shaw and Mr. Porter, were those your real names?
Of course.
In which
How
case,
dare
I consider we have met. Yes, we had a lovely conversation yesterday.
And you wanted to know... you were concerned about shipping.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said, yes.
That is...
Yes, that was a matter of the little Belfont situation. You're aware of all that, then? And I presume you're all aware of the existence of things people are better left unaware of?
Yes.
Oh, how very unfortunate for you.
It has required some recovery.
Yes, one moment, let me just make sure we're not disturbed any further. And she steps round, you see, as she flips the door sign round and locks the bolts on the door. Turns the key in the lock. There, wouldn't want anyone wandering in during all this.
Mm-hmm. While she was doing that, I was watching. Did she use a key to lock the door, or did she have a bolt?
This bolt, and she turned a key in the lock, yes.
Is the key still in the lock, or did she remove it?
She has removed it. Pocketed it.
Very well.
She sits back down. Smooths down her skirt.
So, when you said that you had shipping problems, are you having issues with the Belfonts themselves?
Issues with the Belfonts. What have I not had issue with the Belfont?
Ooh, can I psychology that?
I'll go for it. Get a read on her.
Thank you.
I will also attempt this too.
So you're trying to sort of get a sense of. Now you're sort of paying more attention to her demeanor. It's hard to get a clear read on her because there's something just incredibly off about. It's almost like the expressions on her face and the cheery tone of her voice sort of seem to shift a little from what you heard before. Like she seems almost like a different person now in a way that she's talking, and there's this little gleam of quite excitement but anticipation in her eye, like she's waiting for something. As you hear like a hint of like anger perhaps under her voice when she mentions the Alphonse, but yeah, this.
I would like to do a walk around the perimeter if I could. See if anyone is waiting somewhere.
Like poke around the bookshop. Yeah.
Yeah. Like while they're questioning her, I'm gonna go ahead and basically secure. We are locked in here. Are we locked in here with something we don't want to be locked in here with? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. As you give you a walk around and give me I suppose a spot hidden as you do that. So.
Will do.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank goodness.
We'll get to that in just a moment.
We will not be jumped.
So. Yes, Belfonts. Always causing a trouble. Were you the ones that attacked their estate the other month?
Yes, I shot them.
Oh, doing what I could not. Yes, we've had a bit of a long-standing feud, them and I. You know, I interfere with their operations. They kill my husband. That's, tit for tat.
So that's what they do?
Oh, if you've not encountered the Belfons already, they are completely insane, a lot of them. You see, the nonsense they believe, and the stuff they've got themselves into. It's amazing. I mean, you've seen the kind of people they attract. It's...
Yes, indeed. It seems like the cult of Dagon has thoroughly ensnared them.
Yes. Oh, they're not a real threat to anything important, though. It's just all about greed, really, for them. Greed and self-interest and vengeance. They're all just wrapped up in that. Really, it's not worth the effort it would take to bring them down, I don't think. Not when... You've ever been fishing?
No.
No?
I have not.
My father used to take me fishing when I was a girl, you see, and one thing he taught me? Having the right bait.
That is true.
What the Belfonts are, what this shop is, what it all is. As she's saying this, Lottie is just sort of circling round. You notice a couple of things. Firstly, you four are alone in this shop, aside from Leticia. There's no one else in here. The back door is locked. There's this sort of odd sort of smell in the air. It seems to be coming off the candles. It's like a sweet, almost half floral, half the scent of burnt toffee. Sort of permeating through the air. And finally, you've seen sort of one of Leticia's hands. The other one is tucked into the pocket of her skirt and hasn't left it during this conversation.
Is it the pocket with the key?
No, it's the other pocket. You see, the Bellefonts, they draw people to them. People like you, I suppose, and worse people. People who want to get them involved. People who want to learn things people shouldn't know. You understand, right? You see. There are things that people should not know. Books people should not read.
I agree.
Knowledge people should not have.
I agree 100%.
Exactly. So, someone needs to look out for people. Someone needs to do the right thing to make sure that people don't stumble across those books, to remove them from the libraries, to take them out of people's hands, and to make sure that those that have read them can't spread that knowledge on.
I also agree.
So, you understand what I've got to do, right?
Are you attempting to stop the Bellefonts from what they are doing?
The Bellefonts. I let the Bellefonts remain for now. They're not my main concern. They don't. I prune when they try and extend too far. But as long as I know where the people who know these kind of things are, that's fine. It's little bits of knowledge that's springing up elsewhere. The researcher who stumbles across something they shouldn't. The woman with a family herbal who dabbles in things that really she shouldn't touch. Those are the people that, need to be nipped in the bud. Pruned before they can become worse problems.
So am I to take it to mean that you want to nip us in the bud?
That's what I was going to do. When I realised, when I had this inkling, you see, when you were looking at things that maybe you needed dealing with. And really that's what I should have done, Pruned you off like I did the rest.
Now, hold a minute here. You talk about pruning, and we recently pruned a very large garden ourselves. I think it would be imprudent to prune those who are doing gardening themselves.
You think the same way I do, then?
Yes. Honestly, if I might be frank, the garden we recently pruned, some few months ago, was started by the Bellefonts and devoured a household in its entirety. And if we had not set fire to that garden, it would have spread.
Is this still a metaphor?
Not anymore.
Well.
As I said, I was speaking frankly. And those plants were carnivorous and wanted to grow.
Maybe it is time Bellefonte was dealt with. But Bellefonte is not the issue on the table right now.
No, is it not everyone that is...
If you think Bellefonte is the root of this problem, you are sorely mistaken. The root lies with the man who taught Bellefonte. The man
uncle.
who ruined my father's life. The man who told sweet little Lorraine Walsh what it was she had. The man who led so many people down this path.
So...
Wallace.
So what do you wish?
Punishment for someone that hurt me. For someone who ruined my life. Who got my mother killed. Who broke my father. I want to hurt him. Like I was hurt.
Listen. We've all been hurt by things of the occult recently. As you know, you just stated her name. I mean, I lost my aunt. I lost practically my entire family because of that incident, and Mr. Porter has been impacted. Miss Carter has been heavily impacted by books and occult, and Lady Irene has tapped into a medium ability that she has never been familiar with before. I mean, we've all been hurt and we've all been impacted, but do you know that Sir John Wallace's intents were truly bad, were truly deserving of some kind of punishment?
My father went insane. He lived out the last years of his life alone, trapped in his mind, broken by what your great uncle, by what John Wallace showed him and taught him.
Yes, and my aunt is dead. Do you have a point? I understand. We all understand we have lost loved ones. But we can't just suddenly have a bloodlust for Sir John Wallace or the Belfonts or anyone. We have to be practical. We have to do research. We have to come forward and be honest. We're trying to get to the bottom of things, and originally you lied to us. You've known far more than you've let on.
Yes.
Just as we did,
lied.
we also lied.
Yes, well, I think at this point then we should all be rather honest and figure out what Sir John Wallace has been hiding, if anything, and whether or not this desire to kill him or harm him is actually placed in something true or just... I mean, you give anyone a gun and they could go and shoot someone. Do you blame the person who sold them that gun? We need to do more research. We need to have more conversations.
This has been a point decades in the making. Just until now, that man had... There was no one I could hurt, but his little American grandniece. He seems... took you in? Right? He's gonna care what happens to you here.
Madam, I do not approve of the direction this conversation is taking. You see, there are many of us in this room at the moment, and I will not let Miss Maddie Carter come to any harm. But more importantly, do you really wish to injure Sir John Wallace? Who do you think it was who set us on the path to stop that garden from overtaking the city? Who do you think it was who helped us to interfere with the business of the Belfonts? Why cut off your nose to spite your face?
You don't know him like I do.
From what I understand, he has not seen you since you were a child.
Yes, you're saying this information to people who have been frequently in his home and are in fact blood related him to him. So I would pick different words.
At this point, this conversation is pointless. It's too late already.
Here is what I suggest. I suggest you close up your shop for one day and come have tea at our estate and perhaps have a proper conversation with him first. I know that he is disheartened by what happened to your father. And I know that from what he has told me, he lost contact with you and he cared about you. But he lost contact with you since you were a child.
She looks a little sort of... You can definitely tell the things she's mulling over. As the more you sort of talk to, the more you're getting the impression that perhaps, for all her talk of the dangers, she may have read more than her fair share of books that should not be read. But she's definitely still listening to you. But as she talks, the smell that Lottie smelled before, this sort of burnt toffee floral smell, is a little stronger. I just want to ask for everyone to give me a quick con roll here, please.
That's a hard success.
Just fail by 1.
You have
use
luck if you
luck.
wish to use it.
Yeah, I'll use it. That's a good time to use that.
Okay, so that's a hard 2 successes and an extreme success.
Thank goodness.
So Lady Irene and Lottie. Both of you are starting to feel a little odd. It's not quite hitting yet, but definitely something like the edge of your vision a little hazy maybe, and as you sort of watch, you can see water beginning to ooze through the cracks between the books and start to drip down onto the floor of the bookshop, this muddy ooze of river water. You blink again and it's gone for a sec, but there's definitely something flickering at the corners of your vision. This has not gained full impact yet. My father warned me. He told me that nothing Wallace means. The man was not to be trusted. That was the last words he ever said to me. He said, "Don't trust Wallace."
We're not asking you to trust in Wallace. We're asking you to trust in us. Detective Shaw, myself, Maddie Carter, and Lady Irene. We are stern things, and we are investigators. A society of a sort. So why not join us?
And our society is dedicated to stopping the things and preventing people from learning things they should not learn.
Any means necessary. Are you willing to do what would need to be done to stop that? There's so much blood. You think it's going to be easy, and you set out, but suddenly there's so much blood on your hand. You just...
The thing is, my dear, sometimes you're able to use what you've learned to undo what is being done. And that is what helped us stop what happened those months ago.
Burn it, destroy it. But what about the people?
Yes. The people?
What do you do when they're the danger? When you just know, you look them in the eyes and you know they've read something. You know that they, even if they don't do it now, that the thought, the idea is there, buried in the back of their minds, and it will keep going back to them, and they'll just keep digging.
What
do you do
better
then?
reason for a society? A place where these people might gather, a place where they might not use these things in ill ways, like what happened at that unfortunate house. Instead, let them put their work towards something useful, like keeping this information out of the hands of those it does not belong to.
People who
better
would
to
use
find
it for personal gain.
Precisely.
I see your spine now, Maxwell. I'm glad it's there.
Yes, well, seems I left the better part of it before, but now it is important and relevant that we keep our heads, because I know that you have been through a great deal, and you seek answers, restitution, revenge. How long do you think I have spent searching for the same things? I understand your position well. All the more reason, then, to find new friends. Surround yourself with understanding instead of a wanton urge to destroy.
Yes. How are you still? You see her eyes flicker to the smoking lantern that she'd lit before.
What's wrong with that lantern?
The perfume on it? It seems to stick in the back of the throat.
As a matter of fact, I think I'm of the mind to demand that you open the door.
If I say no, what if I
Perhaps just a window then.
burn this place down with all of us in? That would clear a lot of But no. You would just walk away from me? After everything I've told you about what I've done?
I don't believe we intend to walk away. I intend to invite you to join us, as I have said many times now. There's no
And I
reason
intend that you join us for tea to at least clear the air between you and my uncle.
Come on, Leticia. You know me.
And if we're right, and Sir John Wallace has nothing to hide, no shame in what's happened, and he simply gave people knowledge and they used it in a negative way, then we can all move on. And if we're wrong and he is some kind of ill doer, I mean, I'm on the side of the law and I'll do what's necessary.
Yeah, she's just there's this long moment where she just stares in disbelief. The four of you.
I will get up and go into the back room. Is there a stove and water and things to make for tea?
Yes, there is.
I shall at this point make some tea.
As you step back to make tea, Irene, at this point that you hear a knock on the door.
I wonder who that might be. And I'm going to go, is there a place to peek?
Yeah, there's a peephole. As she stands at... So as Irene stands and heads up to the door, Lottie, you were sort of circling around, standing up, weren't you, before? Had you sat down again, or are you still standing?
I'm still standing. I've been standing around for most of the time. I wouldn't have really taken a seat. I'm kind of on edge.
You hear a whisper sort of in the corner of your ear. She's a murderer.
Yes, well, I don't doubt it.
You know that. Are you replying out loud?
Yeah, I am. I kind of have a moment where I assume one of them said that to me. So I'd say that out loud, yes.
Okay. So Irene, you step up and peer outside the door. There's nobody out there. Like, it's dark.
That was strange. There's no one out there. Could have sworn I heard a knock.
No, I heard it as well. Most
You did
certainly
not.
did.
There was no knock, Maxwell.
Oh, no.
There was no knock.
I rescind that. Never mind.
Yes, well, what do you suppose we do at this point?
And at this point, that as Maddie's disappeared to make the tea, Leticia stands and like quickly hurries over to her lantern. Here I go. And she snuffs it out.
Please, Miss Leticia, would you care to enlighten me? What was the purpose of that lamp?
My original plan was to ensure that that only one of you left this place alive, preferably having killed all the three others in a horrible way.
Well, I'm quite glad that you've decided against this.
Though usually the Black Lotus flower takes effect a little faster.
Excuse me, Lady Irene, I'm
Are you
quite
seeing
unfamiliar.
anything yet?
Seeing? No.
Hearing things?
Not the slightest.
I
We've
heard a
dealt
knock.
with
Maybe it's going stale.
we've dealt with quite a lot recently.
Yes, bad tumor, perhaps. They've built up some tolerance.
Maybe.
But you, are you sure that you are all together here?
I'm here. Definitely, I am. Why? What makes you think otherwise?
You're asking about others hearing and seeing things, and make no mention yourself of whether or not you have. Then you claim to have wished to have poisoned and killed three of us, and so therefore I must ask.
I wanted you to die. I wanted to know that I had ruined something of Wallace's.
Yes, you wanted control, desperately, because you felt yourself out of it. Which is why I ask, are you all together here?
I'm always here. I'm fine.
No, perhaps not. But in time you could be.
In time, or maybe I just want you to put me in the same room as Wallace so I can see the look on his face when I kill him.
Yes, I had considered the possibility.
Is that a risk
But-
you're willing to take?
My dear, there are many risks that I've taken in life. But I don't believe this is a bet that I'm willing to make so easily. Rather, instead, as I said, I wish that you would join our society. Help us a bit. Belfont has taken from you a husband. Surely you must feel some need to help us, then, with our dealings with the Belfonts. We wish to see a stop to their particular brand of ne'er-do-wells.
They have rather overextended their hand.
Yes, his daughter is going about drowning people.
Yes. A trick she learned from him, I suppose. What was his favoured trick? Quite crude, as these things go.
Say,
Are there other tricks that you might be able to learn?
Remember what we said. Knowledge should not be spread.
nice.
Things I know I will die with me. But you saw how I bent Maddie's memory. How easily it is to bend the will of another, to set person against another, to send A woman to kill her husband, a brother to kill his sister. So easy. It's terrifying how dangerous this sort of thing is. Think what it could do if it was left to spread unchecked.
Precisely. And all the more reason that I wish you would tell us what you know of the Belfonts. You say this is his favorite trick, surely he has more. We must prepare ourselves. If we are to deal with a man such as this, we must know what weapons he would seek to employ. Can he too bend our minds in the manner that you have?
Possibly. I don't know for certain. My father learnt his tricks from Wallace, as did Belfont. It's possible that if anything that my father was taught, Belfont knows also. Maybe. Detective Shaw.
Yes.
Your aunt, Lorraine. How did she die again?
She was killed, supposedly. I don't really know the details, but I know she was murdered.
Not
likely in a typical way. I don't believe from drowning. That was never mentioned to me.
Belfont, then maybe.
Yes, well, suspicions are on my father. It's hard to say.
Your father?
Yes.
Wait. He killed her?
No, I'm not claiming that he's killed her. I'm just saying in my research and, well, the evidence at the scene would suggest that whoever had killed her would have been familiar with the house, had keys. It's hard to say.
No, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Well, I've experienced quite a bit of loss. I mean, I've lost my father pretty much after that event. He turned into a bit of a husk of a man, and I lost my aunt before I was born, and well, I lost the man I loved to a mysterious illness, now that I think about it.
Forgive me, Miss Shaw, but perhaps the question that should be asked is, what was meant to happen? And what do you mean by that wasn't meant to happen?
No one was meant to die.
No one was meant to, but something was meant to happen. What was it?
Do you?
Merely the acquisition of the book.
And you know more about this than you told me the other day.
I told you that... Well, most of what I told you was lies. I hoped to set you against Wallace.
Yes, well, now I'm expecting the truth.
At this point, Maddie returns with the tea.
And I will first hand the cup to Letitia, and then I will hand a cup to everyone else and take mine.
I was down. I knew that Wallace was after a book belonging to the Shaws. So I went down to get it before he could lay his hands on it.
Yes, well, he owns that book now.
No, he
So
doesn't.
He showed it to me, did he not? Keeper?
No.
Oh, I thought he had it.
No, he does not have it.
But he knew of the book.
On the
He knew of
Belfonts.
it.
And he blamed it on the Belfonts, right?
He blamed
Yes.
it on the Belfonts.
Yes, well, he knew of the book when I spoke to him about it. That's
Yes.
part of the reason I
You-
moved to London, is I knew he was connected in some way. He sent a letter to our house.
You thought it was... You thought it was him. You would...
Well, I didn't think anything. Like I've said before, I mean, I do not jump to conclusions as a detective. I legally cannot. So I came to gather information.
And who do you think did it?
Well, you seem to still have more information. You intended to get it before he did, and then what happened?
They wouldn't sell it. Family heirloom. No intention of parting with it. So I sent your father to get it. Told you it's so easy to bend people's will.
My father to get it?
Yes.
Yes, and you had argued.
He wouldn't sell it to me. That's why we argued.
And then you
So-
influenced him and he killed his sister-in-law because you wanted a book?
That was not my intent.
Is it possible that your intent was altered by somebody else's intent?
Maybe. I considered killing her. She knew a lot. But
You're here claiming that Sir John Wallace has done something wrong, driven your father to madness, impacting the Belfonts in such a way that they are able to have an impact on people, and you're telling me that you yourself went to my family home and impacted my family in a way to influence for a book. You want to kill Sir John Wallace for something that you yourself have done. You ruined my family for a book. And now you want to kill someone because they ruined your family? You're a hypocrite, and you should be behind bars.
I do. Every action I've taken is at Wallace's door. He made my father what he was. He made me what I am. Don't you see? It's all his fault.
How did he make you who you are, what you are? How are you... That... I grew up in destitute due to your actions, and I grew to be the better for it. I went to college. I did what many women could not do. I had my sisters help me pay for it. I now work for a detective agency in London. You are responsible for your actions, how you handle your grief. We have been involved in the occult in ways that none of us have hoped to be involved in, and we have done nothing but good with the information that we've received. You were not influenced to do anything, Letitia. You chose your path, and you will rot for it. And if Sir John Wallace must rot too, then I say he rots too. I have my evidence. I've done my research. You belong in jail.
What evidence do you have?
Your admission of guilt.
That what? I asked your father to get me a book.
My question now.
Do you see?
Do you have
Do you
the
see?
book?
There's no proof. I burnt it. They burn all the books that should not be read.
What was your question, Miss Carter?
That was my question.
You see how it is? You can't arrest me? What will you arrest me for?
True, no one's going to believe us.
This is why I need to do what I do, because this is why we need to do what we need to do, because the police, the courts, they can't help us. They can't stop any of this. That's what. And I am truly sorry about your aunt's death. That was not my intent.
You were not sorry. You claimed you thought about killing her yourself.
I thought about it, but did not. Can you honestly claim you've not thought about killing plenty of people?
Well, I'm thinking about killing you. And I believe you're the only person I've thought about killing. Other than perhaps the Belfonts. Yes, if you think the occult is some scourge that you've been given the divine right to quell, then go for it. Go ahead and finish out the job, kill who you need to kill, and then I will kill you, Ted.
Who do I need to kill?
Yeah, so you want to kill Sir John Wallace? You want to burn books? Go for it. Run amok. I will capture you on your murder charges, and I will see you hung. Go ahead.
Right.
I first suggest that you clear things up with Sir Wallace. Understand what he might be wanting to understand. From what I understand, he wanted us to stop the information spreading and to stop the cults from the nameless cults spreading.
I will meet with Wallace. I will help you. Are you willing to let me help you?
Before a decision like that is reached, there are certain questions that need answering. Perhaps you know of the disappearance of several books from the London Library in the restricted section,
I took them.
as I suspected.
And that is why you attend every open day at the library.
Yes.
And I will lean towards Miss Carter and say, Miss Carter, now is perhaps not the best time for her to meet with your uncle. I think perhaps a different kind of visit to a different sort of home might be in order.
Lottie, as the rest of us sort of like huddled in discussion, what are you doing? What's your sort of plan here?
I'm pissed off. I mean, I'm just angry. I mean, I don't really know what the course of action is. I don't want to. I have a level of emotional willpower where I did blow up at her and I did claim I was going to kill her, but I'm not going to act on that or do anything that I think would take away from everybody else. So I had my burst of emotion and now I'm trying to rein it in because I still stand by that we need to get to the bottom of exactly what we need to do to prevent further people from getting hurt, and me being angry and killing her probably won't help. So if anything, I'm pacing. I'm calming down and pacing.
I pour her more tea.
Thank you. I'll drink it.
Pace.
And I will pour more tea for Letitia.
And Letitia takes another sip. I told you, I will meet with Wallace. And so now, it seems that I'm not going to kill you, that you're not going to kill me, so I fear we are just a slight impasse.
Yes, I believe one that is largely
Perhaps
the key in your pocket.
Perhaps not an impasse,
I
but
did
a
lock you in,
truce.
didn't I?
Perhaps not an impasse, but a truce. If you would like, I can send the carriage for you in a fortnight, and we shall have tea.
Okay. She slips her hand into her right hand pocket and pulls out the key.
I will
You may
reach out to
leave.
take it if she'll give it to me.
Yeah.
Thank you, my dear. Now, I do hope that you will remain safe and well in these next few days. Please, I urge you, consider what I have spoken on, at least somewhat. We can do a great deal of good with the knowledge that we possess, and together we can prevent further injury, further death. further looting?
I strongly suggest a holiday, if possible.
You are the most. You are some of the strangest people I have yet encountered. Nothing. Only half of what you say makes any sense. And yet it does, which makes even less sense overall. Curious and curiouser. Yes. I think some fresh air would be in order.
So, and with that, I'll stand to go and undo the latch from the front door.
I will collect the teacups and take them into the kitchen area and start at least rinse them out for her.
Okay.
And can you answer one question, Letitia? What's with the candles? What's in them?
I told you. The black lotus flower, though not quite as effective as I thought it would be.
Oh. Interesting. Well, be safe.
And as you step out from Blake's books, having gained a lot of information and perhaps an ally, if not a trustworthy one, I think that may be where we have to wrap up for tonight.